people during Victorian times in Soho, they didn't have toilet. They had a pot where they pee or poo. And afterwards, they would just throw human waste out of the window on the street. The human waste containing the bacteria leaked and contaminated the drinking water where people get their drinking water from the well. That was the cause for the Victorian times Soho Blue Death, that pandemic. That became a wake-up call telling the parliament something is wrong with the sewage system in London. You have to do something about it.
So we're going to talk about Crossness and how one man's vision cleaned London. Right, so the beginnings. Until 1865, the River Thames was practically an open sewer. There used to be 182 sewage outlets coming from the city that would drain into the river. There was practically no wildlife living in the Thames. In 1865, as a result of the cholera epidemic, the Metropolitan Board of Works was formed, and it was led by the chief engineer, Joseph Islegate. The idea was to cut off the waste before it reached the river and carry it to tunnels 12 miles outside of the city center towards the sea. Like, he was born in London in 1819 and he studied engineering. And his original career was actually not in health engineering. It was actually in rail networks. So he did a lot of work in China, in Ireland, and he worked so hard that he suffered a nervous breakdown. He had to restart his career. So he began his new career in public health engineering in 1849. And he spent several frustrating years drawing up various plans for a revolutionary rethink of the city's sewers, agreed that they were important. But after the cholera epidemic happened, things changed. The Parliament gave full responsibility for cleaning up the Thames so that the waste doesn't go into the Thames anymore. His vision can actually be seen in the diameter of the sewers. When planning the network, he took the densest population, gave every person the most generous allowance of sewage production, and came up with a diameter of pipe needed. And then he said, well, we're only going to do this once, and there's always the unforeseen. So he doubled that diameter. Now, his vision allowed for the unforeseen increase in population density. With the original smaller pipe diameter, the sewer wouldn't have survived and it would have overflowed by 1960. We are actually using the same system that he designed, and London at the moment has around 9 million people. That's how impressive his work is. The station was opened on the 4th of April, 1865 by Prince Albert. The Crossness has 4 engines, and they were named Victoria, Albert Edward, Prince Consort, and Alexandra, which were all members of the royal family back then. The royal family allowed for the names to be kept. Like, keep in mind, this is a sewage station, but they allowed it because of the artwork. They loved the artwork so much that they agreed. And today, if you go and visit in certain days, Prince Consort is still working, so they still turn it on for the public. 6 tons of sewage per stroke per engine were pumped. So it would work with 12 boilers, and it would consume 5,000 tons of coals every year. Unfortunately, the station fell into despair in the 1950s, and at some point it was actually on the list of the buildings to be demolished in London. An army of volunteers actually decided that they would not let the building to be destroyed. So they formed a trust. Now the building is under the English heritage. Today, London is using the same sewage system that Balsagate built. However, due to the increased population and over 9 million people living in the metropolis at the moment, the system has started to struggle. So there are plans to build a new super sewer by 2024 that will release the pressure on the old one by transferring the waste to the east for treatment. This is just an upgrade. The pipes will be enlarged. His merits are not recognized at all. Like, he only has a small statue in London, a street with his name leading to Crossness. But this man changed London forever.